A very good evening and welcome to the Pickable Flipside Webinar Series, a panel discussion on sharing lessons from books we have read before. My name is Saini and I'm a member of Pick a Book Epic Club and I'll be the moderator for today's evening. So before I introduce you to the panelists we have lined up in today, let me explain you a bit about what Pick a Book Club is about. Pick a Book is a global movement of readers. George R. Martin, an American novelist, says, "A reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies, whereas a man who never reads lives only once." And that's the importance of reading. And in this global network, we encourage the habit of reading by getting them, all the participants, to read a book, to research on it, and also to present a summary of this book by inculcating the reading habit as well as the presenting and public speaking habits as well. So by doing this, Pickable Club inculcates the reading habit as well as they impart a wealth of knowledge. So the books that will be discussed in today's webinar is one is A Thousand Splendid Suns by Khalid Hussein, and the second book that will be discussed is How to Be a Boss by Lily Singh. I personally am a huge fan of both the authors, but I haven't read the book. So this is quite an amazing session, and I hope to have an interesting discussion going on because I know for a fact that these two authors are superb. So without further ado, let me introduce you to the amazing panelists we have today. First is Maryam Shiyamdi. She's a 17 years old girl, a first year undergraduate at the law faculty of APIT. She likes reading, writing, sketching, and binge watching the most random shows. So, hi Maryam, how are you doing?
Hi, Saini. I'm doing
Doing
really
great.
good. How are you?
Okay, nice to hear. And also, we have another amazing panelist joining up, Akil Rizvi, currently in his final year at Abid Kandi studying law. And he says that in his free time, he loves to read, draw, listen to music, and he said that his favorite country to visit is Netherlands. So, hi Akil, hope you are doing amazing today.
Hello, Saini. I'm doing fine. How about you?
Okay, yeah, even I am excited for the today's discussion. So, without further ado, let us begin the discussion. Going to Mariam at first. Mariam, may I ask what this book is about?
So this book, it speaks about the lives of two women who lived in Afghanistan. So this is complete fiction, all right? So this is the author's take on how during the years of the 1960s to 2003, how it was like what women suffered, what women went through, the situation of the country. And so these two women are completely different. They have completely different lives. And these lives are somehow intertwined and they are somehow connected. So that is what this book speaks about.
Okay, that is an interesting concept as well. So, going to Akil. Akil, can you tell me why did you choose this book to today's presentation?
Actually, it's very interesting because it was just a random selection, not the book. Actually, starting with leasing, it was just introduced to me by my sister to watch her videos because it was so funny, and I got to know that she had released the book. So I had to read it. Like, what was it about? It's more about knowing about yourself and how to be a boss, like not the boss actually, and how to inculcate those lessons into your life.
Yes, I mean, even I am a fan of releasing, and when I saw the book, I was super surprised to see what's inside the book, the everything. So it looks like an amazing book to read. Yeah. So going back to Mariam, Mariam, can you tell us what you learned from this book?
What I learned from this book, well, there are lots of underlying themes and very obvious themes as well in this book. So the first of all, it's the rights of women. All right. So how women have been underestimated and how they are basically the backbone of this society, and how they were cruelly treated by the Taliban, and basically how they were underestimated and how important they are. So that is we should not underestimate women. We should not take them for granted, and everything that they do helps run society. It also shows the importance of friendship, female friendship, and the history and memory of Afghanistan is also brought out very well through this book, about discrimination and sexism, and how women and children, the young and the women, are always discriminated against.
Yeah, I think as far as I know, Khalid Hussein has been an author who brings out a different concepts, right? He bring like
Yes.
the deep emotions and feelings that we don't know that exist in our world. So I think the book A Thousand Suns, Splendid Suns explain the same concept as well. So Akhil, can you tell us what you learned from your book?
Okay, for
What
the
was it
first
called?
lesson I learned was not not let your emotions to control you. As we have that impulse to when you're angry, you go to be angry, like you do something rash, and then not to have backup. Just have that one plan and stick to it. Moreover, then keep learning every day because you don't know what is coming in. Like the example that she used in this book was her friend Lindsay Sterling, who was an American violinist. Like when she saw her, like she was asking why was she still learning to practice the violin, although she's such an expert in it. She said she has to keep on learning because the trade always changes.
Yes, I mean after listening to both of your conversations, I figured out that both the books has a quite a contrasting concept where Mariam's book talks about the pain and the feelings that are outside in the world, whereas Akhil's book talks about the feelings inside, right? It talks about ourselves and within ourselves. It is, I think the book two books suits each other as well. Yeah, so thank you, Akhil, for that answer. And Mariam, the third question I have for you is what inspired the author to write the book? Do you have
All
any
right,
idea on
so
that?
yeah, I do actually. So this is actually really interesting. So the author Khalid Hosseini, he was born in Kabul. So Kabul is one of the cities in Afghanistan. So that was like the capital of Afghanistan actually. So he was born there in the 1960s, and during the 1978 coup and the Russian invasion in Afghanistan, he moved to the US. All right. So when he came back in 2003, he came back to Kabul in 2003 to visit, and he saw these fully covered women trailing along with 5 to 6 children, 5, 6, 7 children. All right. There were so many kids around these women who were walking along, and this was really new to him because when he was still in Kabul and in Afghanistan, there were so these women were like really modern, and Kabul was a really modern, forward moving place. All right, so the fully covered women were not really popular in Kabul back in the day, but now when he saw these women were just fully covered, they were full in burqa. So burqa is one of the attires that they wear. So because of the Taliban, they had to dress this way. So Khalid Hosseini himself thought, so he was wondering what these women were thinking, what are the emotions that these women had while walking along these streets, fully covered with so many kids, what they had to deal with. So basically, this book is a tribute to that, to what these women think and their emotions that they can't tell to anyone, and they had to suffer in silence. So that is why he wrote this book as a tribute to those women.
So it comes with a background personal story, is it?
Yes, it does.
Right. Okay, that is quite interesting. I think personal stories always inspires authors to write what they have experienced. They know it the best. They know the feeling the best, so they just put it in words. So, yeah, going to Akhil. Akhil, do you have any idea on who the author's role models are? You know Lily Singh, but
So,
we don't know her role models.
okay, so her role models include her mother. She gave her very good, like a very good message to her, like not to conceal everything in plain sight, like not to give everything to her. And the next role model is a character from the Game of Thrones, Daenerys, the mother of all dragons, because she had a secret as well. 'Cause he gives a very brief description on how it happened. Then Dwayne the Rock Johnson, because he had to overcome a lot of difficulties, and there are many more as well. Because throughout the story, there are many people who have been a role model to her.
Okay, so just quick question. So these role models are explained in the book itself, right?
Yeah.
So inside the book, she explained the role models. I think you said quite a famous names as well that even Mariam nodded her head. So like she knows the names. Even I have heard them. I think it's quite good to have a role model in order for us to have an aim and a target for our development. Yeah, I think that was a good input to this discussion. So, yeah, Mariam, the last question I have for you. What morals and ethics the book has instilled in the reader?
So morals and ethics. When you speak of the morals and ethics, it is very similar to what the themes of this book is, because that is what the author is trying to convey to us, right? So, as I said before, the themes include the rights of women, then discrimination and sexism. All of that is very well shown. So, basically, the most primary um, moral that I could say of this book is to never underestimate someone, all right, and to never abuse your power, because those are the very main themes of this novel, and the main turning points of these two fictional women that Khalid Hosseini has written about. Yeah, and about loyalty and devotion, and how important being loyal is, because these two women, they are so bonded over their similar circumstances. So when the book starts out, these two women have very different circumstances, all right. They are completely different, their society, their place in society is very different, but they are both brought to the same level once the Taliban come to Afghanistan. So through that, they bond through it, and basically they are extremely loyal to each other. And the book ends in a tragedy, as the readers, the ones who have read this book, would know. So yes, that's it.
Okay, that attributes you said was really good. I mean, according to explanation, we just try to understand the reality, and all the loyalty, how to face the world comes in installed in our reader, right? Okay. So Akhil, can I ask you the question? What attributes did the author possess to be a boss?
Like she didn't give a damn of what others thought. She just went through her own way. She was humble. She wanted to bring that out because she was also just a person, a leader, because she had to do it on all on her own. Because she it starts with the scenario of a dance company she wanted to try start, but in vain it did not start. And then thinking of not like giving a damn about the external environment, like trying to control one's emotion, and that's how she goes through everything.
I think that was an amazing input because looking at how she went through everything and how she personally tells how she went through everything, which makes her a role model for the readers as well, in order to face the challenges, their personal, the daily challenges and the breaks that they go through. I think the both books has an amazing content inside them with deep meaning and also a wisdom of knowledge inside those little books. The book A Thousand Splendid Suns and as well as How to Be a Boss is quite different in concept. That's what I understood from your conversation. It's quite different inside the book. The written style and everything is quite different, but it carries a deep value, right? I mean, both of you chose the books because you liked them, because you had thousand of books to choose. But when you say Flipside Webinar, you just chose the book. That's because the value that carries. So that ends to our discussion, to our webinar. Thank you for the amazing insight that you two brought in. I thank again our wonderful panelists, Akhil Rizvi and Maryam Shiyamdi, for the amazing insights and from the two interesting books. I actually haven't read either of them, so I it was interesting for me as well because this was the first time I was listening to these two books. So I hope that the others learn something out of it as well, and that they're encouraged to try out to read these books and to see what actually happens inside. So, with that, we come to the end of our Flipside webinar. I also thank our audience for their support and positive feedback on today's session. Thank you very much for joining us. And just on a note, if you like to know more about Picker Book Club and what this network is about, or if you're wondering how to join this, you can simply visit our Picker Book website and you can get to know more about our network. So, with that saying, I thank you everyone for joining today's webinar and I hope you have a wonderful weekend ahead. Thank you.